Welcome to the unlucky for some update. To some others, this will be update 13. We've finally managed to get all of the work completed to the Runabout now. We got the last few bits on, the last few little greeblies. So we've got the little phaser array, wings, things at the front there. We've also got the little greeblies in there and those ones in. It's exactly the same on the other side. We've also got the Starfleet the Starfleet pendant in. We've also got the name of the ship in. These actually, to be quite honest, were quite tough to put on for some unknown reason. That could be due to the age of the decals. But you know, no matter how much water I actually applied onto the surface of the model, I just had to muck about to try and get them in place, and they're not exactly level, but it's the best I can do with them. The one on the other side did actually tear a little bit as well, so I was kind of hesitant really to sort of muck about with them too much. But they're not looking too bad, and as you can tell, it's with these little wings on and these little greebly bits, it really does help to bring the model alive, and along with the sensor dome at the top as well, which you can just take off and put back on. As you've seen, that still amazes me actually, to be honest. So the decals are still actually a little bit wet, so I just got to touch this sort of rather gingerly, but then if we take a look from that side, you can see we've got the decals down there. It's just this one tore, I think it was about there. I've managed to get that lined up as best as I can, and it does look okay, but as I say, I just didn't really fancy sort of trying to move them around too much because they were breaking. And then if we turn it upside down, you'll be able to see there we've got the decal going across there, and we've also got the decal going across there as well. So that's actually finished now, which is fantastic news. So I can just safely store this model whilst I'm waiting for the whilst I'm doing the base. So I'm going to make a start on the base, and I will come back to you as soon as I made some progress on that. Okay, so now the model's finished, turn my attention to the diorama for the kit. I'm basically using a product called Shaper Sheet for the base and also for the backdrop. This is basically what it looks like. So it's nothing, it doesn't look too impressive, but it's got aluminium foil on the back of it. So what that enables you to do is just basically get the stuff, and you can just, like, you know, scrunch it up into a little ball like that, and it stays like it. You know, so that actually looks like a fairly decent rock already, just by scrunching it up. But then if you're not happy with what you've got, you can then just shape it back out and smooth it back out as much as possible, like so. And that's what it looks like when it's gone back. This stuff is actually fairly flexible. You can do all sorts of things with this. It's actually quite good stuff to use. You can just, you know, pull it around into all sorts of different shapes, and it will just stay in that shape until you decide that, you know, you've had enough with it. You know, you can most probably build a starship out of this. But yeah, you know, so that's actually quite good stuff. So I've got the general shape of the rock finished. What I'm going to do in a while is put the Woodland Scenic plaster cloth over the top of that. It's kind of almost the same as the stuff that they used to put on your arm back in the good old days when you busted it up a bit. Something I know all about, being accident prone. So I will put that over the top of the shaper sheet. The reason why you would put this on there is once you've put that on there, it will set solid, and the shaper sheet won't then budge, because this is still a little bit fragile in some respects, that you could actually accidentally press it down and deform it, which is something that you don't really want to do once you got it to the point where you want it. The other thing that I've been doing is I've been working on making these little rocks here. I haven't done those by hand. I've basically been using the once again the Woodland Scenic molds, and this is what they look like. And as you can see, we've got all sorts of different shapes in there. Now, as you can most probably see by the tide lines in there, I haven't washed this out. I've just not long released some rocks from the molds, so I just thought it'd be an advantage to show you whilst you can still see those little tide lines. So basically what I've done is I've gone in and only filled them up to the point where I want them to be filled up to. So it's not necessary to fill the whole thing up. I mean, if you're doing a large scene, then yes, you can, but if you only want little bits of rock like myself, then you know, you can just fill up the little bits that you want. And again, there you can see another little one there, and then we've got the little sort of rocks, boulders, whatever you want to call them, at the top there. And then the other one that I've been using as well, as you can most probably see by the size of this one, it is actually quite big. And then if we look in on the inside there, you can see how deep that goes in. And again, with this one, all I've been doing, as you can see by the tide marks in there, I've just been selecting little bits, little areas in there that I wanted, and just basically pouring the super strength plaster in. And then again, around the edges, you've got various little marks. That one looks like a little bunny rabbit, and then we've got some more down there, and that one we're not going to go into. And then, you know, you've got that little one just there. And I've just been using the super strength plaster for this. This is a 4-pound container of it, which is about 1.81 kilograms. And this is really good stuff to use. This does go into the instructions on how to put it all together, or should I say, you know, quantities of water to quantities of plaster, etc. Once that's done, you end up with, and it's all dried, you end up with rocks basically looking like this. So you can see all the detail that's come through on those. So they're looking pretty good already, just by being unpainted plaster. Obviously we want to bring out all those little crevices and stuff like that. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the Woodland Scenics earth pigment paints to bring out the colours in the rocks. I'm going to use what they class as the leopard spotting technique. If it's something that you're interested in looking at, I do suggest going on to their YouTube website, and you'll see all the guys doing this kind of stuff, and they do show you how to do these various little techniques and what have you. I mean, I've been sort of avidly watching them for quite a while now, just to sort of, you know, look at the various techniques that they've got going there. And they do bring out videos occasionally as well, but this kind of stuff really is for model railways, but you can obviously bring it into scale for this as well. So as you can see there, I mean, on the back there, on the rock, I've come up with a basic design of what I want. I'm kind of fairly happy with the way that this side's looking. We just need to trim these little rocks down around the edges here, just to get the slope going down that way. I'm still making my mind up what I'm going to do with this side, but that's a good thing with this stuff, is the fact that before you glue it down, you can just play with it until you're happy. I'm really going to wait until I get the plaster cloth on there before I decide what I'm doing. But once I'm ready to put these bits on permanently, I will once again go in with this stuff, just to sort of, you know, you put a little light covering on the back end of these, and then you can just glue it to the surface and that's fine. So I'm going to get this all sorted out. I'm going to get the plaster put on this and then let that dry, and once that's dry and I've got the rocks in the positions that I want them to be in, I will come back to you and show you. Okay, so we got some more work done to the diorama. We've got the sorry, excuse me, we got the shaper sheet, and that's all cut to size and that's laid down now. We have gone around the edges that were here and basically removed all the excess foil that we didn't need. Following that, what I did do was put all of the plaster, both layers of the plaster on the rock itself, whilst it was off the diorama. It's just a lot easier to handle that way. When that had almost dried, I then put that back onto the shaper sheet on the base of the diorama, and I then went along and put the plaster cloth on top of the shaper sheet, and then moulded it around the edges of the rock itself, and also up the sides, and then also down the sides here, and also at the back. So it's actually now permanently attached. Now this is still a little bit damp, to be honest, after about 2 or 3 days. I think the weather that we've been having here hasn't helped actually, because it's been raining quite a lot and it is a bit damp outside. But this shaper sheet, because it is felt, does actually retain the moisture a bit more than perhaps maybe it would have done if it was just paper underneath. The other thing that we've done is we've also got the rocks attached. The only one that isn't attached at the moment is this little one here, because I totally forgot about that. But that's okay. What I can do with this one is just go back in with a little bit of the scenic glue, and just glue that on with that. That is one of the options to do with this stuff. The other option that I've used on the bigger pieces is just basically mixed up a small batch of the super strength plaster, and then I suppose kind of use that like mortar really, and sort of wet the back ends of these down, and then just splodged it onto the back and then pushed them up against, so it just kind of helps spreads out, and then they do adhere to the surface quite nicely. Now with this this rock here and this one here and this one here, they're basically the same rocks, just in different angles and also at different depths. Now basically I've used this one, which is the full mould of it. You can see how thick that is just by looking at that there. So what I did with those three is I've basically done those at different depths within the mould itself, and I've also angled them slightly differently. So this one at the edge here, or sorry, on the end here, is kind of at an angle like that, and then this one here is actually facing up the right way. And as you can see there, with this bit here, that would be this bit that's going across here, so it's actually missing all of that bit there. And then this one here is the same part, but that way up. And again, you've got quite a bit of this missing on this side, and obviously a lot of it on that side is missing. And because of the difference in the depth that we've got, you actually do tend to get a different quality of rock coming out. Now some of the markings might look the same, but because they're all in different places and they're all at different angles, you can't actually see how they're repeating that well. So that's a bit of a bonus, and it's also a bit of a cheat really, where you can use the same mould to do different types of rock without having to go out and buy loads of different moulds for it. And then what I did after that, I just came in and just put little rocks in different places around there, just to also help hide that that they're the same rocks. And of course we got this little bit in here, then we got that little bit down there, and then there's a couple of bits that are in there, and then that little bit there. And that also helps to break up the surface, and it also makes it look as though the rock's started to fracture because it's been there for quite a while. What I'm going to do there as well is just to mimic nature as well, is just go in all of these gaps here and just put some foliage in, maybe at the top in this part, in these couple of parts here, just put some trees in there, you know, little trees, to make it look as though they've actually taken root. And then in all these little cracks down here and across that side there, I'll just put some little shrubs in there to make it look as though we've got some little shrubbery coming out of those. And I'm almost most probably do the same at this end as well. And then what we'll do for the rest of it, once this is dried, is we'll paint this in earth brown. And the reason why we're going to need to paint this in earth brown is to sort of mimic nature of that little bit more. Around the edges of these rocks here, we're just going to need to leave those like an earth brown colour, really. Because if you look at sort of concrete posts that go in the ground, or you know, anywhere near any rocks, you always see that around the edges of them you've normally got sort of dead areas where it's just soil. For some reason the grass won't sort of grow around them. Not really sure what the reason behind that would be, but you know, if you look at nature, that's what does happen. And then the rest of the areas, I just need some grass on. One of the other things that I'm going to need to do is put the model on this as well, just to see where the model is going to sit properly. And then I'll just see if I can put some different little rocks on there. I mean, I've got loads of these little rocks that I've made up, you know, that are just laying around that can be used for anything really. And I'll just see if I can put some of those on there as well. Now the other good thing is we've got a little cave there. So if I just zoom the camera in, hopefully we'll be able to see in there. Sorry, it's going to be a bit shaky. This stand that I'm using is a little bit stiff. But there you go, you can just about see in there. So that actually looks like a natural cave formation there. So what I'm going to do is go in there and just paint the inside the same colour as the outside. And then put some light gravel in there as well to simulate that, you know, you've got little rocks and stuff that make up the floor. So that should be quite cool. What I'll most probably end up doing as well is putting one of my little Starfleet men coming out the cave. It looks as though he's gone in there. One of the other things that I will be doing as well around these edges, because I just don't want these edges to be as straight as that. With these ones that I've made up, I've got two of these made up, and I've also got another one in the mould. So with these, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to put them down the side there, and then just sort of, you know, so let's get that in shot. I'm going to put that on the side there, and then I'm just going to sort of chop that off so it's at the same height as the board there. And then we can just get the grass over the top of that, or we can just you know, get some foliage and just hang it down over the sides to make it look as though it's all part of the diorama. So that'll be cool. And the good thing about this is the fact that this is exactly 2 lengths long. So I won't need too many to do that, and I'll be doing exactly the same down the sides as well. So I've also got another one that's actually made up as well. I made quite a bit of plaster by mistake. I didn't mean to make as much as I did. I just really wanted enough to sort of fill this one, but I made enough to actually fill that one there, and also those 2 little ones there. Again, you know, you can just keep the little rocks that you make in a little pot, and then you can pull them out whenever you need to if you're doing a diorama that needs rocks. So that's quite cool. So at the moment, what I just need to do, as I say, just let this dry. Once that's dried, I'll then be able to get on to the next stage, which is sort of getting all the paints down. And then I'll be able to start the grass in, and then once I've done that, I'll then start to put all the foliage in. So as soon as I've got some more progress on this, I will come back to you. Okay, so we've made some more progress to the diorama that I wanted to share with you. We've got the front and the side sections of the diorama attached now. So what we've basically done is we've used this rock and we've just basically cut sections off with a saw to do the sides there. So this has got the front bit's actually got 3 pieces. It's 2 long pieces, and then at that end we've got a short piece, and then we've just got 2 long pieces on each side. And what I've done there is I've just basically again used the super strength plaster to act as a mortar, really, to attach those to the sides, and then any gaps that were left I've then gone in and filled in with the plaster, and then I've smoothed it off as much as possible. We didn't really want the surface to be too even, because in that way we get the different undulations underneath for the grass when that's laid on, so that kind of will help give it a more of a realistic look. I've still got a little bit down the side there to do, and that side, and then I just need to flip her around to see how much space I've got at the back end. Just need to know whether I need to chop these little rocks down any further. This is just basically a sample of how thick we've actually gone when we're cutting these up. But if we just try and bring the camera down at a different angle, hopefully you'll be able to see the effect that we've got going on there. So hopefully you can see there that there doesn't really seem to be a repetitive pattern, which is kind of where we want it to be, which is great. So all I need to do once I get the back end done is just basically do this in the Woodland Scenics paints, just to simulate the rock surfaces, and again all around the top there. One of the other things I have been working on, if we go up, I need to zoom in for this bit as well, is just on the edge of one rock at the back there. I've just been experimenting with the earth paints just to see what kind of colour we can get for the rocks. Now at the moment I am using, let's see if we can get those in focus. There we go. So they're the 2 that I'm using at the moment. I'm not sure which one of those I will end up going for, but they are basically the Revell, let's see if we can pull that out. There we go. So they're basically the Revell aqua colours. So they're basically the acrylic paints as well. So I just need to let those dry off a little bit and see what kind of colours they give us. I'll most probably end up using both of them. One is the main colour and then another one just to highlight, but I'm not sure which way around I'm going to be doing that at the moment. So once all that bit's been done, then I've got the rocks painted, I'll be able to get onto the earth colours, and then once that's done I'll be able to seal the whole thing and then start on the grass and the bushes. So what I'll do is I'll carry on with the back end of this model, and as sorry, not the model, this is the diorama. Oh, I'm getting confused. So as soon as I've got some more work done to it, I will come back to you. Okay, so we've now got the rest of the rock put down around the outside. So we've got this bit here, and then we've all the way around the back. The only bit that I haven't done is this. There's a little bit there that I haven't done, but I purposely left that as is, because that is actually going over the edge of the board as it is, so I didn't really want to put any rock there. We've also got a big lump of rock put in there, and we've also got another lump of rock just around the other side there. So that's about it for this particular stage of the build. The next part really is just to let absolutely everything dry on there, which is going to take a good couple of days now. And then once everything's dried, I'll then go over the rocks with the the earth colouring kit from Woodland Scenics, and then as soon as that's done I'll be able to start putting the grass down. So that's going to be about it for this video, guys, because it is getting a bit long. So I will catch you in part 14 with some more progress on the diorama. Until then, thanks for watching, and please do take care.